Eden was 40 cubits above Earth, above the mountain. So Eden is technically not on Earth. So when they looked at it, they came down below. It's like coming down to another dimension, you could say, but came down below. But they were still on the mountain. And so now Adam and Eve died a lot after that because they didn't know how to eat, drink, none of that. I mean, after a while, it was like, Lord, if the serpent is over here, like, please don't let me go over there. When we sin, we continue to go because we don't die at the moment, right? Like when Eve touched the apple, he said, surely you won't die if you touch it. But God didn't say that to Adam. He said, you know, you eat it, you'll die. But the serpent told Eve, he said, if you touch it, surely you won't die. So when she touched it, she didn't die, nothing happened. So she kept going on with it, right? Now when she ate this fruit off the tree, the serpent was, and he said he went into her, but it wasn't sexual. He possessed her, and we know it wasn't sexual because in the garden they didn't have digestive system, anything, any of those things. Because Adam tells you that when they get out of the garden, because they didn't even know how to eat. Satan appeared to Adam and tried to convince him to marry Eve. That's how the marriage of Eve even came up. And Adam was vexed. He was like, bro, I don't know what, I don't think I'm supposed to, I don't know, right? But the moral of this story is that when Adam was in his garden, Eve was in the south side of the border, you know, on the mountain, you had the people that was below the mountain. Now on this mountain was brimstone and fire and stuff like that going up the mountain. And so the ones that below the mountain couldn't come up the mountain. Yeah. And the ones that below the mountain was raw nature. It was nature. It was raw nature, you know. And so what we're talking about is raw chaos. Yeah. Raw emotion. All these three things go together. Right? Nature, chaos, emotion. So that's why you are not animals. You're not a dog. You don't act like an animal. And the reason why we're not animals is because we can control sexual urges, sexual tendencies, i.e., you know, the R-A-P-E word, you know what I mean? Like, and we control all these things. And like, we control our diet. We control who. Like in the animal kingdom, and I ain't want to mate with you, he just mate with you, right? We control our tendencies to want to kill the other man, to kill the other king, Those things that were below the mountain, then it was this raw, chaotic energy, emotions, lust, fear, panic, i.e. pain. Now, you also had the satyrs out there, the satyrs out there. The ones who like fluffy goats with that they're supposed to help man, got man in the forest, and they played up the flute. And they'll have like human bodies or sometimes like, but they have like goat legs. Yeah. When Adam was going through, which is Adam and Eve, and Adam was going through all these trials and tribulations. And by the way, God called them angels at this time because he communed with them, and they were perfect because when they did mess up, they had God to correct them. If you tell your son, hey, man, you disrupted the class, I need you. When you do that, you need to go apologize to your teacher and apologize to the class in front of the class. And he disrupted the class, right? He got a letter home, but then he tell you, but Dad, I got it from the teacher and I apologize to the teacher and I apologize to the class. Did he not walk in perfection? Exactly. That's how you go and walk and be perfect. But in God's world, you gotta know the laws. You gotta know his laws to even walk in that world. Like it's narrow. It's a narrow path. It's his laws. It's his laws, statutes, commandments, heritage. It's all of them. So if you know that, even when you stumble, if you do the things he said to do when you stumble, like go to him, you're walking in perfection. That's why he said, go off and be perfect. Even when you stumble, I told you what to do when you stumble. Now you don't do that, now you're walking in chaos. So Adam was perfect in this world. He was going off, and though he kept dying, because it was a new world in him, God was there to guide him and carry him and lift him back up and tell him. Matter of fact, everything that Adam did, where he died at, where he walked at, the Lord said, I'm gonna die right there too. I'm gonna walk right there too. And God said that he sent his spirit, the word, to Adam. So the word is who?
Let me not mess up. Adam.
Yeshua. The word, okay. The word is Yeshua. Okay. The Father is the thought. The word is the Son.
Yeah.
So he sent his word to Adam. Okay. So Jesus was talking to Adam the whole time in the garden.
Okay.
Remember I told you, Jesus, the Lord is 7 spirits.
Yeah.
Right? And so now you understand that Adam was actually talking to God, and he was talking to the word the whole time. The word that was protecting him and guiding him and undeading him. Bringing him back to life. Every time he died, and said, I'm going to die in this cave too. They're going, in 3 days I'm going to rise, and don't worry because I'm seeing a flood over there. Don't go too far west because I'm seeing a flood over there. When Adam was in the wilderness, right? His newfound place. When he was going to and fro. Now, the only animal that didn't get named by Adam is the serpent. The serpent kept his name since the Leviathan, which is also the serpent. What the Lord called him, that snaky serpent that slithering when the Leviathan, which is the devil, right? And so you can't have a Tiamat without a Leviathan. So now you put Samaria in order. Samaria is here. Adam and Eve is here. And everything below them that's going to eventually mate with each other and create Samaria. Samaria are lesser gods than these guys. The devil kept coming to them in different ways. He kept coming to them to trick them. So while Adam said, I'm going to go over here and fast, and you go over there and fast, he would come to Eve in the form of an angel and say, the Lord has brought me and told me to tell you to go to Adam. So he get Adam out of his fasting. Right? And so Adam had went off to a way to go and fast or something like that. He was going away to something. And this is when a spirit of a woman came upon him. But a woman that you could physically touch, have sex with, all that, right? And she was enticing him to have sex and said that the Lord sent me because surely you are tired. In other words, Eve has fulfilled her purpose, that you are tired or whatever, and you should have sex with me, or you should impregnate me or marry me. And this was what we call Lilith. He told her no. And then so she went and took around and made it with her creator, which was Satan. Adam was roaming in this area. A family came up to him, and this is when he was enticed to have a family, to marry Eve. Around the time, don't quote me. But anyway, this happened in the book where they came up to him from the water. A whole family rose from the lake. It came up on him because the Satan was showing him. He said, "No, I got better things for you to do than to be a carpenter because God gave them fire, Adam fire and all this stuff like that." Yeah. Right? So to work the field and do it, I got something better for you where I'm going, where I'm at. Right? Matter of fact, I got a whole kingdom of things out here, people out here, things of my creations or whatever. So you see the people come out the river, out the lake, and start talking to Adam and Eve. Then they let out these calls, and then next thing you know, all these other creations that look like humans and angels come out. But they're all animals. They're all, what we just talked about with chaos, they're all raw nature spirits. And some of them, not all of them are forms of animals. Right? You got this is what we get what we call the enchanted forest. Because you also got the the elves, the sprites, and the fairies, and the pixies, and all that. They're more with nature, like the elements of nature, the raw emotions of nature that would lead you, guide you, and deceive you, and trick you, and all these things through nature, gnomes and all that stuff like that, right? Steal stuff, trap you, all these things, right? And all these things are inherently chaos, right? When you understand a little bit of what the satanic view is about the body parts, and each body parts relate to a spirit, and we know about the chakras and all these things, right? All these things relate to emotions, right? Which is, that's a chaos, which is why Zeus and some of those gods was having babies out of their necks and stuff like that, because it was out of emotional points. It was out of rage and fear and lust, and it was out of all these things that was going to them, right? And so, and also we're talking about now when people get possessed and they hike up the wall like a spider, like a bat, or they act like a dog, and they growl and they hiss, or they crawl like some type of animals. Like when you see somebody afflicted, like people on the street would be shaking and sweating and going to and fro and can't think like a pig, right? Right. So, which is why when the demons was in that guy, Jesus put him out the guy into the pigs, throw the pigs up the cliff. Right. So, and then which is why when he called the lady a dog, she really had the spirit of a dog. People say, oh well, it's because she was Sumerian and they, but when you go back to at the beginning when she was there too, right? Because the word was always with the Lord, right? And the word created it all, right? And so when we talking about this, and we know that all the spirits that Satan was using, that was used with the serpent's blood, which is full of wisdom and knowledge, right? And he was able to make apparitions and things in people of clay. They took 200 animals. They took 200 animals where the bloodline, and he started getting more. They took 200 animals and manipulated them, right? And then they had to mix them later on to make them big enough for the giants that was produced, so they can have food for them. Which we get. Then you start getting dinosaurs of intelligence and large dinosaurs, right? But to narrow it back down, to go back to the beginning. All of these apparitions, so the people that came out the water, what do you think that was made with? Those reptilians, right? People out of the water, those reptilians, right? Then you had Lilith come, and I believe that she was made with dog, right? So then you had all these other things that came out the forest to the sea, but Satan made them all look like humans. And we know this because even they tell them, say, yeah, they just look like that. He told them, he said, they only just look like that to you, but they don't really look like that. But one time he drugged Satan as the serpent, the one who's in the garden, not the one that's in the chaotic waters, the Leviathan. This is another version of him, the one that's in the garden. And he drugged him to Adam, and he looked like an angel. You would think two angels come through the garden, right? But then he unveiled how he really looked, and they was hideous. Now you see, to us, Adam and Eve, that looked like beautiful humans, right? But there was really animals, raw, filthy, horny animals, right? And this is so okay. So now you know that these apparitions coming to Adam and Eve look like people, but are animals. When you get to Revelation, you talk about the beasts of Revelations. I see these, and there's a beast, and there's a beast. These are actual inside beasts. We see them we're going to see them as kings, but they're going to be actual beasts. It's like you got actual reptilians that we see as humans. So, because what would a reptilian of the serpent knowledge be able to do if they're in the same family as a chameleon? But a chameleon could look like a tree and you could walk right past it and not see it. What do you think an actual knowledgeable, conscious being can do? Like, look like you. You know what I mean? Or something like you. Right? Cloak devices and all this other stuff, right? Like yeah, and so with all these different beings, so now you can see I don't know if you heard the mythos of the dog man, and like I know you heard of Bigfoot, right? Counts. All the counts come from eating, Edom, which is Esau. The first counts, Count Dracula, all this stuff like that, the vampires. Yeah, right. You ever heard of the show Attack on Titan?
Yeah.
Okay, now one of the girls' name in that show was Petra. Petra is the city of Eden. And then you know it's Eden because they live in the mountains of the rocks, and they built in the rocks. So the tabernacles. So like we see the Washington Monument and all this, the presidents and the stones and stuff like that. That's all Eden. You know that's Eden. You know that's Esau. We know Eden is because Edom. Keep saying Eden. Edom. We know Edom is. We know what Edom is because Edom became Rome. Esau was born in the same womb as us. Came out red and hairy, ate raw meat, lived in the mountains. Right? And lived in a place called Edom, and then Edom became Rome. Right? So when they was in Edom back in the day, they made it with the giants, they made it with the bestiality, because they what I told you, what would come to them, what apparitions would come to them too. Animal apparitions in the wilderness. God needed to lead Moses and all of them through the wilderness because crazy things come at you through the wilderness. And so they was in the mountains and they was mating with all that stuff, eating red meat with them and everything, like they eating the giants, bestiality, and that's where you get Bigfoot from and all those the babies of them. Right? And so, and that's later on in the bloodline. But the point here is to show you that Satan appeared to you as many things. He appeared to Adam as many things. Many things. He even threw a big comet at him. And guess what God did with the comet? When Adam was asleep, he made it a dome around him, dome of the rock. And there's also another cave where Abel and Cain was born at, which is, I believe, is the cave that they use and call it the Middle East. They call it the cave. I think that's really this cave where they killed the Lord at. The end of the cave of treasures. I think it's the same cave because the Lord at. And that dome of rock where he threw at Adam is right there too. And they worship that. Sin is the father of Ishtar. And sin is the astral belt, the dark matter around Ishtar, around the moon. And they believe that fell to earth. And that dark matter is actually what's in that stone that in Muslims they walk around. There's dark matter in the stone. And that dark matter is called sin. Another name for sin is Allah. And his daughter is Alat, which is Ishtar. Another name for her is Mary. And who do the Muslims kings say they're married to spiritually? Ishtar, Isis, any Mary, Cantor, any of those names, they say they're married to spirit. They might have a wife in the flesh, but they say they're married to spiritually. It will be literally the Catholic queen in many different names. And you know how Greek mythology go into the Iranians? Because it's called Persia, because Persia is the one who conquered us. That's Greek mythology, right?
Yeah.
But people think Greek mythology is false, right? Matter of fact, I told you, after the flood, Gilgamesh goes and visits the Pishtim. And the Pishtim is Noah. Okay, right? And actually it's so funny because Gilgamesh had a mating, a buddy they put with him called Enkidu, who was half human and he was like a centaur, a mentor, or whatever, a minotaur, right? Later on in, what was it? It wasn't Medes, it was below Cyprus, where they had the Minotaur games down there. They used to feed people to the Minotaur. You know the movie The Labyrinth, or the Maze Runner?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something real, based off real life, when they would sacrifice people to the maze, and the Minotaur was a man with a bull head would run and get them, whatever. So now I'm gonna give you the element. You see how you see the animals and people, right? Then you see the walls of Egypt. You see the walls of Egypt. They try to do the same thing there, right? All the Sumerians and all the beginning worshipings was the worship of animals. The owl, the goat, right? You see, I keep going. The cat, because and you know, Ishtar represented the Sphinx. She represented the cat people. So it's another thing. It's called the Lyrian-Orion War, the war between the reptilians and the Lyrian people. And the Lyrian was like ligers and cats. And I think you even had the eagle people in there, like the last movie Transformers. How they brought the eagle transformer and the monkey, you know. Okay, now listen. let's go back. Let's go back. I'm just connecting a few things to go back to how we get the chaotic spirits being animals and why that's actually very important. We're going to hear that everybody is not humans. So just like he was telling Adam, bro, everybody ain't humans. Matter of fact, the first adultery was bestiality. Do not go and mate with those things down there, with them down there. They're not what you think. Right? Okay. So now you had someone from after Cain and Abel, Cain go off. Now you got Cain out there in the wilderness too, and he's mating with them too, right? Okay. So now you got actually blood from a form of Antichrist mating with the serpent seed, right? And the apparition that you got out there, all the raw, animal, chaotic, horny spirits, right? This is where you get Homo erectus from, right? And then you have already, remember, Satan already told Adam he got kingdoms of people out there, right? Okay, things out there that he made, humans and stuff like that, right? So you got all that out there. After Cain and Abel, you get Seth to replace Abel, right? And then the children of Seth, now man, they still all called angels because God commune with them. Now the children of Seth, they keep going down to look at down the mountain. Now you gotta remember, the children of Seth ain't, this is two generations. They ain't been through the same thing Adam went through so heavily, where Satan kept coming and killing him and tempting him in all these different forms, as animals, as things in the sky. And so what he was showing us, what they was showing us in that book, though, if they kept that book in, the reason why they had to take it out is because if we kept this book in, we would know all the ways that Satan approaches us. All the ways that he try to come in the form of light. He try to come as something in the sky. He try to come as an animal to harm you. That's why we end up getting names.